Hi, everyone. Welcome to the True Living Show. I am Felicia Lamona with True Living, and I'm not Mike, and I'm not Tony, but they will be on shortly. But we do have a phenomenal guest today, and I can't wait to introduce you to him. His name is Jerem Fry. Am I saying it right?
Yeah, Jerem Fry.
Jerem Fry, he has a phenomenal story. He's a business owner, an innovator. Something about your story that I learned is that you built your own prosthetic limb, right?
Yep.
And more importantly, you're here today with us as a survivor of cancer. We're so thankful you're here. And today you're going to share your story with us. And everyone who's just logging on right now, we are on StreamYard. So you must give StreamYard permission for us to see your comments, your questions. And in just a few moments, we're going to hear a little bit more about this gentleman right here. So first of all, Jerem, I want to know, how do you know Tony Doty?
Through a good friend of mine, my chiropractor of many years, Dr. Russ Court.
Oh.
And he put me in touch with Tony just recently.
Oh, great. We know Dr. Russ Court. We love him. Yes. EMF.
Yeah, everyone who knows him loves him. He's doing a lot of good in a lot of people's lives.
Exactly. When we talk about world changers here, that is like the kind of person that really sees something that's so important that's not just for yourself, but for others. And, you know, just taking those steps to make sure that we spread the word, that we're able to impact people, our communities, and beyond. So
Awesome.
Are you ready to share more about your story? I'm going to put you on camera.
Okay.
Well, actually, Mike would have had to do that, so I'm going to just stay quiet while you talk. Is that okay?
Sure, absolutely.
All right, great. So everyone that's logging on right now, I'm so glad you're here. This is the True Living Show. You do have the right place. Mike and Tony Doty will be here live with us. They are filming right now. And here we go. Jerem is going to take it away. Thank you.
Okay. You have any questions, or do you want me just to try and launch into it all on my own?
Well, I would like to do what's comfortable for you. First, thought I'd give you a few moments to just kind of share your story. I know that I've seen some articles, so I know that you've been interviewed before.
Yeah.
I've seen you've done some work with like the church, right? I saw you some things written up with that, and I wasn't like the stalking investigator that it sounds like right now.
No, that's fine. It's kind of all out there, so.
But I did want to know a little something about you before you came. So, of course, I did a little homework. But yeah, so I'm just really interested in knowing a little bit more about you. And then I will ask you some questions about, entrepreneurship and then what it means to be, to live true, right?
Okay, great.
Okay. All right. So go for it.
Well, I'll try to, I try to contain things in a nutshell, and I'm usually very unsuccessful at trying to do that. But what I was telling Tony about when I met him was kind of my realization of late that we can live our lives, we can live a life of meaning, or we can pursue a life of happiness. And I think the thing that's natural for most people is to seek happiness. We talk about happiness all the time. That's our purpose in life, is to be happy. And Jordan Peterson talks about the importance of pursuing a life of meaning rather than a life of happiness. And I was trying to explain this to my kids just last night, actually. And I was telling them about the time that I climbed El Capitan, which is the world's largest exposed granite monolith. It's twice the height of the Empire State Building. And I climbed that with the first all-amputee team ever to climb El Capitan. It's something that climbers come from all over the world to pursue that goal, and a lot of them fail at it. It took us 5 days and 4 nights. We slept on the side of the cliff, and the truth is, it was absolutely miserable. It was the most difficult thing I've ever done. It was terrifying. It was the furthest thing from happiness ever. I would have been much happier had I stayed home eating ice cream, and that would have made me happy that night, right? But I was explaining to my boys that I just struggled through this adventure, through this expedition, if you will, and we got to the top, and we had accomplished something, and that felt great. Still wasn't quite happy. We still had a 10-hour hike to get back down off of the mountain after climbing 3,000 feet to the top. And when you're spending multiple days on the rock, I don't want to be crude, but just to be real with you, you can't take the kitchen sink or the bathroom toilet with you. Part of what makes it miserable is you're scaling this sheer cliff for 5 days, and you've got to go to the bathroom while you're there. And so you're on this exposed cliff face, hanging with your climbing harness around your rib cage, which is pretty painful in its own right. You're pooping in a bag with thousands of tourists down below with high-powered binoculars and telephoto lenses, deliberately trying to see if they can spot climbers on this cliff. And you've just, it's miserable. You've got to do all that. And our 10-hour hike down, I was the one that got tasked with carrying the backpack full of all of our waste that you can't just leave it on the mountain.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so it's a stinky, heavy, difficult hike. You're literally exhausted beyond any exhaustion that I'd ever experienced before. It had literally gotten to the point that I was using gratitude to its fullest potential. Every rock I touched, every tree I touched, trying to kind of stabilize myself on the way down, I was thanking the tree for the energy it was giving me. I was thanking the rocks for being there, and just trying to express gratitude, to try to suck what little energy I could out of everything I touched. I was that exhausted and that desperate for sustainment and help getting down. And so it was this miserable, difficult, terrifying experience. And the next morning I woke up, and I remember waking up flat on my back. I don't think I moved an inch the whole night I slept. My eyes opened. All I could see was the trees and the blue sky above me. And I just felt this incredible sense of happiness and fulfillment that I still feel today when I talk about it. I still look back on that miserable experience that meant something, and I think of the two things that I really got from that experience, and those were an incredible appreciation for running water and basic things that we take for granted on a daily basis. And the other was this sense of confidence that I developed, where everything else I've done since then has been incredibly, so much easier than it would have been normally. And I've just had this confidence that I can do anything, and life is easier. And so I have more gratitude for life, and I have more faith in my ability to get through life. I'm more familiar with the gifts of the Spirit, the gifts that God has given me, and my ability to conquer the challenges that life throws at us, because I deliberately chose to take a challenge that I didn't have to, but it's made all the other challenges that I do have to face that much easier. And so I could have eaten ice cream. I could have gone to the movies. I could have cuddled with my wife. I could have done a lot of other things that would have made me happier on those days that I was miserable on the rock. But that meaningful experience has produced happiness that has lasted ever since then. And I'm confident ever in the future will continue to last. And so that's kind of my experience with living a life of meaning. You mentioned earlier being a world changer.
Yes.
And I think everyone can and should change the world for the better. And that produces lasting happiness.
Wow. So I'm listening to your story and I'm thinking about, I've gone rock climbing before, like in California, but nothing like scaling, something that extreme. And I'm thinking about the moments when I was like fearful because maybe I grabbed onto something and I couldn't, really grasp it and was thrown away from the rock and then hitting really hard, but I couldn't imagine doing it. Like that was just like hours, but you said 5 days. And in my mind, I'm thinking he's right. Like who would want to throw themselves into this situation? And I absolutely love how you shared where you found this gratitude, where you were grateful for everything that is so naturally there for all of us, a rock, a tree, a breath. That's incredible. And did you feel like, so when you say happiness, I almost translate that to like this joy that we should have always, right, within us. And sometimes people find it challenging to find that because they're looking outside of themselves. And did you find that you connected with that even more during that time? Because I guess you weren't absolutely alone, but you had to be pretty much on your own, right? To do what you needed to do to scale.
Yeah. And I think that happiness comes from within. I've had an experience with someone recently who just never got out of bed, and their psychologist told me, well, maybe they're depressed. And my thought on that was, well, yeah, of course they're depressed. They have nothing to feel fulfilled about, nothing to feel proud of. And so I think it's kind of the chicken and the egg kind of situation. But when we do things that are difficult,
take action.
And I guess this is my main message is do the hard things. Because when we do what's hard, we don't have the tendency to want to do what's hard. Right. You kind of have to be a little bit of a masochist to go and spend 5 days on a sheer cliff, literally hanging in a rope for 5 days.
Right. Wow.
And you come down with bruises from the harnesses and the ropes, and it's miserable. But when you do something hard that shows you what you're capable of, that's when I think you connect with God and your potential as a child of God. And when you connect with your potential as a human being, and that's what shows you what you have to be happy about. And so it's kind of like when we get up and we push ourselves, we are connected with our own innate ability.
That's right.
And I think that's where that happiness comes from. And so, I was with my climbing partners and the film crew that filmed it, but it was my individual effort that got me up that rock, and the team effort too. I had to contribute to the team, and so there was a sense of fulfillment there as well, that I helped my fellow climbers achieve something great as well.
Right,
but
they had to overcome. They were overcoming obstacles just as you were. I'm sure each one had their own personal experiences, but you guys still had to do this together. I think it's pretty interesting because usually they say people stay inside of their comfort zone. And inside your comfort zone, you can't really experience like the fullness of life. And that's
Yeah.
what it sounds like to me. When you took yourself out of what was comfortable and you you like immersed yourself into what is completely uncomfortable
Hmm.
and hard and challenging and difficult. But there you found this truth that was beyond anything you could have anticipated, that you were built for this. Anything, right? You're strong.
Yeah.
You were made stronger, that you were not left, right? You had faith that you would make it. um,
Right.
and like you said, you could do hard things.
Yeah.
And so
Absolutely.
that's pretty good. So let's everybody that's listening, you're doing this, but you're doing this with one leg
Right.
and then one. Yeah. Tell us about that. Like, you
Yeah.
had
So
this climb. I can't even imagine.
right. So the three of us, it was the first all amputee ascent
Oh, wow.
of El Capitan. So I am a above knee amputee of my left leg, which
Okay.
means that my knee and everything down is prosthetic, is artificial, and so I designed and built a specialized knee and foot for rock climbing. And my companions were a below knee amputee who, Craig DiMartino, lost his leg sustaining a 110-foot fall where he was climbing at the time, and he actually fell 110 feet and landed in a tree and basically should have died, but just broke his body very, very badly, and they had to amputate his knee or his leg below the knee because of that. And he has come back into climbing with fused vertebrae and all the things from that, and actually returned to the same level in his 50s as an amputee as he was at in the height of his climbing when he was younger, much younger.
We gotta celebrate him, like people are saying.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we gotta celebrate that. That's amazing.
Craig is amazing, and he's an inspiration.
Your brother.
What's that?
I said that's your brother.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And then Pete Davis was the other member of the team, and he was born without his arm below the elbow, so his right arm.
Okay.
He's got his elbow and a few inches, and then that's all. And he prefers to climb without a prosthetic, and it's amazing to watch him tie knots and climb. He was probably the most expert as far as the knowledge out of anyone on the team. He knew what he was doing, and I think in some ways he has to, because he's only got one hand, and for climbing, I think that's a bigger challenge than having one leg. To climb with one hand is pretty amazing, and so
I can't even imagine.
Each of us had our own unique disability. We don't refer to them as disabilities. Take the dis out, and we've got our own unique abilities, but different challenges, and everybody has challenges, but we each had different physical challenges, and so it was interesting to work together as a team, and see how each other climber adapted. And
so what I'm hearing though is that, like you said, these are just different abilities, right? And so where you would be very mindful that you have these different abilities, and you would see opportunities even differently to support one another when you're doing this. but also it seems
Yep.
like everyone has this mental toughness, this mental toughness and this EQ that's superior because you're intentionally putting yourself in the situation and challenging everything that you know, in a way, and you're relying on other people. And I love that because you don't see what isn't there, or you're not saying, this could be a barrier. You're saying this is how we work together. So you always seek ways of working together. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the teamwork's a huge part of it. That's the first time that we ever climbed something like that together. We had we met each other at a climbing competition, which was just basic indoor climbing. So, 20 to 30 feet, nothing big. So it's quite the leap to go from that to literally putting your lives in each other's hands and climbing something 3,000 feet. But yeah, you just have to trust each other, and you have to go for it.
Okay, so Mike's coming in, and
Boom!
Tony's coming in, and so we have Mike and Tony backstage, and this has just been a phenomenal conversation in a place where, like, even if you wouldn't ever dream about climbing, even if you could never imagine what it's like to do something so completely different, everyone can appreciate, just the magnitude of how you go in and you go hard. You go in, you go hard, and you know that it's going to take everything within you, mind, body, soul, spirit, to overcome any obstacle or barrier to make it happen. I love that. The modeling that you're doing for your family and for anyone that works with you, and for us, for me right now, I'm just all full right now from that. Thank you. So here's Mike.
Thank you.
Yeah, I had to stick in here because I'm listening to this and I'm thinking, man, I mean, like, talk about being on the edge of like your life and having your entire life to, so like, talk about a dream team, right? I mean, like, I think that we all have teams in our business or whatever, but how many of us are willing to bet our life on the team, and that's really, I think that's phenomenal. I just, so what are some of the secrets that facilitate that? Like, if you were to look back and reverse engineer and say, okay, well, here we are, we're on the edge of a mountain, right? Like, what are some of the secrets that have come along the way that you feel lead to a successful team, and how did you establish them?
I really believe very strongly, and you can try to convince me I'm wrong, but the most important thing for a successful team is for people to know their role and own it.
Yeah.
And say, this is my role. This is what I'm good at. This is what I'm best at. And I don't play baseball, but for me, I think it's one of the best examples. If you're on a baseball team, and let's say you're the catcher, or let's just say that the catcher shows up for a game, and he shows up 20 minutes late because that's what time he wants to be there, and he walks out on the field and walks up to the pitcher's mound and says, hey, I want to pitch this game.
Yep.
You're getting all the glory. People recognize the pitcher, and I've been hidden behind the mask. I'm just going to be the pitcher today. It just doesn't work. Everything falls apart. And so sometimes it can be hard to, my role climbing El Capitan was not the most glorious role. I was not the lead climber, and I wasn't the cleaner. I was the jugger, which means that I was climbing up the ropes, and it's hard, and it's just physical, and I just have to jug up the rope and start hauling 300 pounds of gear up while Pete would come up and clean the route, and then Pete and Craig would switch off and be the lead climber. And so really, I was kind of just the tag along, the third wheel that did the grunt work but none of the glory. And yet, if one of us wasn't doing that, we would not have been successful as a team. And so I really think that you have to accept your role, accept if other people are better climbers or they're better at the role that gets more recognition and glory. And you have to own what it is that you contribute to that team and magnify your contribution without pride or selfish desires to be kind of glorified for it. You have to see that you are part of the team is part of you, and that your part might be, the stinky foot with athlete's foot or whatever, but you're still part of that body that matters. You might not be the beautiful face.
Go to the gross stuff.
Yeah.
We talked about excrement. We talked about.
Yeah, you guys are checking off all the boxes. Welcome to hygiene at the 1,000-foot overview.
Yeah.
You
It's
know,
not
Sorry,
pretty,
I get
but
real.
it's amazing.
No,
keep
but
it
you know what?
real.
Yeah, Felicia, and I think like that is so, it's so true, right? I mean, when you really own your position, it lets you win, right? And what do they say? If it's neither feast nor foul, it gets spit out. Like in other words, and also owning now in marketing. Right. In marketing, we see a lot of that with our clients. Right. So they come in here and they've got like this big, broad idea. I help everybody do everything. Right. As well, it's like, well, hold on, wait a minute. You're not gripping the marketplace. If I can't identify with what you're doing, things can get a little bit lost. And I see that it really is, they say the riches are in the niches, and it really is inside of that very narrow context. And so I think a lot of times when we start off in whether it's our spiritual development or whatever development we're in that state of freedom. We're almost bucking the system. I can do anything. Watch me prove myself. And then I think that we get beyond that, where we're not jack of all trades anymore, and we begin to niche down. And I know, and I've seen time and time again that the tighter we fall into that niche, the more powerful we are. And it's amazing that you're speaking about this on the team level. So some of you guys that are listening to this right now, I just want to invite you to think about what you're doing in your life. What are you committed to? What is your mountain? What are you out there climbing, right? And what position are you playing? Are you carrying the gear? Are you leading? Like you just said, look, you can't play all the positions, and somebody's got to do everything. Otherwise it doesn't get done, So how does that translate over? Because I understand that you're very versed in marketing as well.
Yeah, so in marketing, that can be hard because you've got to start somewhere, and people often want to progress to a certain point. Mm-hmm. And that's fine too. You can do everything, but compartmentalize and climb the ladder. You got to put in your dues. And so you've got to learn those things, and you're not always at that stage where you come into something and say, oh, great, I'm going to get into marketing. I want to be that guy that's up on stage. That's, kind of the, sometimes we set our sights on the big goal. And
right. Yeah. It's like
we don't do the work to get there.
Jeremy, it's like you're sitting at the bottom of the mountain and you're like, I'm just going to levitate up to the top of the mountain. And you're not like, you climb a mountain, whether it's 1,000 feet or 2,000 feet or 100,000 feet, step by step. And those steps are pretty symmetrical, Yeah.
Yeah. So the route that we climbed was called Zodiac, and it was 18 pitches. Each pitch was anywhere from 100 feet to 140 feet long. And, I didn't get the chance to train for it very well. And the first pitch, the first 80 feet, I was ready to give up. I was like, my arms are burning, my leg is burning. I'm just not going to be able to do this. I'm not going to be able to accomplish the next 5 days, if the first hour I'm already this tired. But that's kind of what you have to do is you have to focus on it one pitch a day. Okay, this is where I'm at. I've got to magnify this. When I master this part, then it's time to move on to the next skill and maybe evolve where your position is in the team. So you don't have to play left field the rest of your life, but you got to start there, and you got to prove that you can do what it is that your team needs of you at that point, and eventually somebody else is going to come along that can play that position and take your place, and you get to move into another position of growth, which is very important, what we've been talking about, being able to challenge yourself and grow. But you're absolutely right. The niche will make you reach.
Yeah, the niche will make you reach. And speaking of team members, we got one in the back seat. So, and we're, boom. Tony, what's up, brother?
Tony.
Hey, what's up? Hey, Jerem, how are you, brother?
Doing well. How are you?
Good to put a face.
Yeah.
Likewise.
Doing okay, man. I see you a bit. You're doing phenomenal here. There's a lapse here. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
You're doing phenomenal, man. I'm enjoying your story.
Thank you.
And Anthony's listening in the back end, and I think, look, and I'm going to pull this up here. So those of you guys that are regular listeners here are looking at this show and you're saying, well, what's going on here? Felicia's talking, we've got somebody who's absolutely amazing. Where's Mike? Where's Anthony? What the hell's going on? So we're out there in the back making things happen, pulling strings, right?
We're all absolutely amazing, Mike.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I mean. It's like, the whole damn team. It's like, listen, we can't do any of this without all of us. It really is. And every single one of us plays our role. And I'm just really present to that because I think that I know, personally for me, one of the biggest challenges that comes up for me is I always feel like I'm always in it. If there's a problem, laser focused in that problem. And I think for me, how that shows up is I can overstep my bounds and not always have that boundary around my team members. And I've got to have faith that they can, that they've got it, right? Which has nothing to do with them. It has everything to do with me, right? So one of the things so I want to acknowledge everybody that's listening out there, if you're on a team and you're thinking about growing something, you're growing a business, you're here because you have a mission in the world. Maybe one of the accesses to the greatest step that you can take is to lean back and have faith inside of your team, right? Faith inside of your team. I think faith is one of the greatest things, particularly when you're climbing a mountain, right? I liken it to that motorcycle moment. I have a motorcycle and I love ripping this thing, 120 miles an hour. Now, I wouldn't do that. All my police officer friends, I'm just kidding, right? And you're there and you're leaning into the edge, right? And you're feeling that lip. And you ever have that moment, and I know you've had it, where you're like, if this thing breaks, I'm done, right? Or that motorcycle, I've got a patch of rubber this big and I'm leaning into the edge and I'm like, if I hit a rock, I'm done. And I think that fear, we have it socially at times on our team, where it's like, man, if I say the wrong thing, or if I don't know, I'm done, or I'm going to get rejected, or this isn't going to work, or my dream's going to fall apart, or whatever it is. And I think that real team, is so much more than that. There's so much there for each and every one of us. And I think what my challenge is to everybody that's listening is to go out there and climb your mountain and build your team and be empowered, Jerem, if you can do it,
something that Jerem said, and what I really feel really stands and resonates with me, Jerem, is, is that you touched on something that we say at True Living all the time, is how do you show up for this?
Mm-hmm.
Right? When you made a decision and you committed to being there, you showed up for it and you said, going 80 feet felt hard and you didn't want to continue, but you knew that you showed up for this, right? And you knew that you showed up for your team and you weren't going to quit or stop. And I think that's the tremendous level of that goes beyond what we feel for ourselves when we start thinking about others, and we reach that place in our lives when we want to get there, we don't lose focus with that. And we know that everyone else with us wants to do the same thing. We all have that same goal. It's going to be hard. We're going to fall. It's going to be sturdy. And in the case of climbing with you guys, stinky.
Right.
Yep.
We're going to do it together. And with that common goal and commitment to show up, you know, fully, wholly, and completely, knowing that you're there for yourself and for each other, I think that makes the difference. And so,
Right.
like, I'm so glad, like Tony and Michael are here. Tony,
Yeah.
how are you?
I'm okay. I'm so excited. You know, I'm still trying to master that being in two places at once thing, right? I'm also looking for that 25th hour in a day. So if you guys find it, please let me know. So I'm trying to find it. But, you know, I'm excited. We just got done filming a phenomenal commercial with the great Rick Frischman and Gary Krebs as well, too. And I was telling my dear friend Jaron, my new friend here, through our buddy, Dr. Russ Court. Hey, Dr. Court, if you're watching, I know you said you would be. I feel like Jerem has a story in him. You know, like I had the privilege last week of being on with Rudy, and we all know Rudy, the whole Rudy story and everything. He's good friends with my buddy Diamond Dallas Page. We're becoming friends too. And I have to tell you, Jerem has this story. And so Gary Krebs, if you're watching, we probably need a good screenplay down the road, a good screenplay writers. We already have the screenplay because I think your story needs to be told, Jerem. I really do. I think you're amazing.
It was phenomenal.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah.
And you're such a, I don't know, there's something about your presence, and we're online and everything, and I'm seeing you, and I'm like, you're so warm and personable, and just like this joy that you have in your heart. I think you just radiate and emulate that. And it just makes everything feel like really good. You don't try, you just are. It's really good. Thank you.
Thank you, Felicia. That I can't even explain to you how much a compliment like that means to me. That really that means more than a lot of other things that I've accomplished. I'm a big believer in the currency of impact. I think that every one of us could give ourselves a raise today if we start accounting for the impact that we have in people's lives, and that always meant more to me than the cash that people paid for the prosthetics that I designed. What meant more to me was the impact it had in their lives, and when people wrote and told me that they were able to teach their daughter how to ski now because they were using my products to be able to ski on two legs again and things. So compliments like that really mean a lot to me. Thank you so much. And the same is true for you and for each of you guys. It's really great to just be in this group, and like they say, like attracts like.
Yeah.
Awesome. I saw that Dr. Russ Court is online.
He's commenting.
Oh, is it?
Yes. That's so awesome.
Yeah, he's excited. Yeah, he was just texting me actually. Great.
Yeah.
You know, go ahead, please, Mike.
Well, I just, you know what, guys, I'm seriously present to it. You know, like we've had an interesting day here, and you know, things are kind of, sometimes they're crazy and sometimes they're not. And I got to just admit that probably one of the greatest fruits, you know, like Felicia, that was a beautiful comment, and I totally agree. You know, you're just present and you're here, and I don't feel judged. You know, I'm just happy to be here, and I'm present to, you know, Anthony and Felicia and you guys. There's all kinds of things happening behind the scenes. I think people show up, they see the show, and they're like, well, they just show up, and no, there's like all kinds of stuff that's got to take place for anything to happen, and that team is the people that you spend your life with. You know, they're the playmates of life. They're your people, and it's amazing because you know, you're right on. That is the currency. Those when you're there and you experience somebody, and they turn to you and they're like, hey, listen, you know, how we just experienced what we just experienced changed my life. You know, it left me present to how remarkable the experience of being alive is. You know, and I think that we all have access to that at times, and probably all the time if we're willing to acknowledge what's present. But to be able to play that game with a group of absolutely amazing people who get up and do anything, put themselves into any shape for somebody else, I think that's something noteworthy, and I love you guys for that. That's really beautiful.
That's great.
Love it.
Nice, love it.
Awesome.
So Jarim, you with your business, I mean, we got to just talk about like you getting into, you said marketing, but you decided to go into business, and I heard you say that you make prosthetics for others. You know, did you have like just like this inclination, or did you study in school, or did you, you know, because to me, when you make a prosthetic, it doesn't seem like you're just
Doesn't just sell
doing it
itself.
like yeah, you know, like a machine, you know, like just kind of putting things together. You're like thinking that you're mindful of the person. What do they want to accomplish? How do they want to do those things that they really are passionate about? And you want to help them make that a realization, make it real. So
Yeah, so it's kind of that personal journey you talked about earlier, showing up for other people, and I think that there's an interesting paradox there, where to be successful, you really have to show up for yourself. It's all about you, right? And you're just focused on yourself and your own contribution and what you're doing for other people, right? And so it's not that you show up and you're focused on, well, what's everybody else doing for me, and how's everybody else doing their job. It's just a very internalized and self-centered focus that is then turned outward, and that's kind of what happened for me. Is I developed the prosthetic that I developed for my own use, and it allowed me to become the world's first telemark skier, which a lot of the first amputee telemark skier. Sorry, a lot of people don't know what telemark skiing is, but if you look that up on YouTube, you can see some great videos about that. Or if you look up my name, Jarim Fry, you'll find video of me actually doing that. But essentially, you're doing lunges on skis, going downhill with G-forces and high speeds on ice. And I cracked a few ribs trying to learn it and develop everything. But it was all focused on how do they say that necessity is the mother of invention. And my need was to prove that I wasn't disabled, that I wasn't unable to do anything that somebody with two legs can do. And so I pursued that, and once I developed that and it was working for me, people started saying, you've got to make this available to others. You've got to make it so that other people can do these things. And at first I resisted that because I thought no other amputee wants to try telemark skiing. It's kind of insane. But then I started the first summer after I developed this, I tried it out for rock climbing, and my rock climbing jumped 3 grades just by using this device instead of my regular walking knee. And then the next winter, I decided to try snowboarding, and I was able to snowboard with it. And I started discovering all the different things that this made possible, and I realized there were a lot of other amputees out there that wanted to make this possible, and or wanted to return to these things that I had never realized before, but we identify with these things. And so you mentioned that I was a cancer survivor earlier. I don't identify as a cancer survivor. And the reason for that is that I believe that we can choose how we identify in life. And we can either choose to identify by what happens to us, or we can choose what we want to happen to life and identify that way. So I identify not by what happened to me, that I got cancer and lost my leg, but I identify, and most people that haven't been through these things, they identify with what things they accomplish and what they achieve. And I noticed that when I asked people, so tell me about yourself, they would identify with with the things they're passionate about, with the things they worked hard at. They would say, "Oh, I'm a skier, I'm a snowboarder, I'm a rock climber, I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a wife, I'm a mother." They would identify with these things that mattered to them, and I was giving back that lost identity to soldiers and to athletes who had lost these pieces of their identity, and that became very, very meaningful to me. And I didn't start out as a genius businessman or anything, but just focusing on that impact that I was having in people's lives was incredibly energizing, and gave me the motivation and the energy to push forward with it. And the company was very successful. We doubled in sales year after year for most of the years that we were in business. And ultimately, after 13 years, I built a market that hadn't existed before. And other companies, bigger companies, then kind of jumped in and said, "Okay, cool, there's a market for this now. We're going to start building our own energy storing prosthetic knees." And that was actually, ironically, kind of a relief to me. I didn't feel like it was all on my shoulders anymore to enable amputees to live their dreams and get back to those activities they wanted. And that kind of freed me up to where I was able to say, okay, I established the market for this. I created the industry, and now bigger, stronger companies are jumping in, and they're going to fulfill this need. And I realized that my true passion was in the startup and in the marketing of that kind of stuff.
Nice.
And that I was spending a lot of my time helping other businesses with their marketing, and really enjoying being able to be involved in more businesses than just my own, and see the impact that I was able to have through other people's dreams and other people's businesses. And so that kind of transitioned to a few years ago. I transitioned out of the prosthetics entirely and into marketing specifically. But
nice.
But that was kind of that journey there.
That's what I see in you, that like you're driven by this passion. You create this innovation. You're steps ahead in the market that you're in, setting a precedence. And now, there are other companies doing it, but then you're still able to make an impact across industries because you're helping marketers, right? And when you help them have success, regardless of the genre, the niche, the market, you're able to help them grow. And then it surpasses any one area. That's probably, I could see you doing that. Like, I could see that you're built for that, just going out and being with other climbers, right? And saying, we can do this. We're setting a precedence here. Let's do this. Let's do this together. And then, being that model for them when they were injured, and keep going. Like you mentioned, the gentleman who was injured and he came back. Now marketers. Now you're helping people all over. It's like compounding your interest, right? Month to month, it's compounding your impact. Awesome.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And if I can comment, I always say you could be a king or you could be a kingmaker. You could be a queen or you could be a queen maker. And, some people want to be king, some people want to be a queen, and that's good. We don't judge. But when you're a kingmaker or a queen maker, how beautiful is that? Because that's literally what you've done. You've literally created something from nothing. And now you've allowed these people to do something with something, right? You literally created an industry. And, then you learned along the way that, hey, I have the ability to create that initial spark, right? That first domino. And I have the ability to teach, and in essence, almost have a label for other people to play on, help their dreams come true. And I love that. And that's something I think I picked up from you right away from our conversation. One of the biggest things in the world that make me happy, how I got this moniker Dream Maker, was because I love that, seeing it in their eyes, seeing it right here, that smile or that tonality in their voice, that they just had their dream come true, because whatever you taught them the way, it's like the John Maxwell quote, a leader knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. And that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And it speaks again more to your testament. And you're so young, you still have so much time to do this stuff, which is amazing, you know? So kudos, buddy, really.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
So what are your thoughts of True Living, Jerome? You got like this quick introduction of True Living.
Yeah, I think you guys are great. I'm really excited about this. I think I'm at a point in my life right now where I'm realizing and really deeply valuing the human connection with like minds, and just the ability to kind of come together with people that, like, I just met you 2 minutes before we jumped on this, Felicia, and being able to come together and share that energetic connection and mastermind on things where I'm going to walk away from this feeling uplifted and inspired by you guys, and energized in a way that, like I said, on the mountain, on the side of the cliff, I gained this incredible appreciation for just running water and simple things. This moment right here, and what we have here with what we're doing is one of those things that I think a lot of people take for granted, and they don't understand the value of it until they're at that stage in their life that they've struggled for that kind of connection and inspiration and support in a way that they can really understand the value that's there. And so you have something tremendously valuable, and I hope that everybody else is able to recognize what you're doing here too, because you could be ignoring me and eating ice cream right now. So.
That's right. Like some Ben and Jerry.
We were just talking about this. The idea of a mastermind.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's when all these little pieces come together, like the synergy, right? It's when all these little pieces come together and all these minds unite, and they say that it makes a third mind, and that third mind, so that larger mind is the mastermind. And it's greater than the sum of the individuals. It's that collective consciousness that we share. And I think one of the most amazing things that we're always living by here, it's like a statement, is to listen for and reliably deliver that which is going to make a real difference in what people are doing and what they really care about. And I think, like, when you have a whole group of people that are really listening for your greatness, listening for you to climb the mountain, it changes your world. It really does. And it doesn't matter what's going on, whether you're thrown into something or, you've got a team, and that everybody's sharing that same context, and we're all going to win together.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Ooh, so
Yes.
I love that.
now I know you guys have a question for him before we close out, but I wanted to know, will you be coming to our Journey to Success Summit in January?
I don't know very much about that yet. I just started hearing about that from Tony earlier.
Don't worry, we're gonna fill you in.
Oh yeah!
I was highly intrigued.
Yes, and every one of you guys.
I was like, wait, okay, when is this? Where is it? Yeah. So
I know, because I can only imagine, like, if you were speaking, right, Tony? Or just even being in, like, one of the rooms with, the people that have come to just have this experience and connect with this authenticity. It's just, I don't know, it's a gift, but it's a blessing. So I want to just say that you're blessing, and, you need to, like, share within our community.
Yes. All right. Now,
absolutely.
Well, if that's an invitation, then let me say yes, I will be there, and I'll
an
figure out how to make that happen tomorrow.
Yes.
You guys, everyone that's listening here, you need to be
I wanna
there. there. You need to be there. It's going to be an amazing event, right? And it is. It's the opportunity for transformation. It's the opportunity to take on 2021 at that next level. Yeah, I mean, like, talk about it. Like, where else can you find people that are out there making the difference, doing in action, taking step after step after step after creating the dream? It's like it's a contagious mindset of transformation, and you don't get it. You got to catch it. You got to catch it by being close to people that are doing it, So Anthony, do you want to ask him what do you want to do here? I'm going to pass it over to Anthony.
I do.
Anthony. Oh, wait, it's on this side.
I know. It's like, I know. It's like when they say click below, but it's really over there somewhere.
Click below.
Like over there, right? Click below. Yeah. It's so funny.
Find a button and click it.
Yeah. Whatever you see that looks clickable, click that button, right?
Yeah. Great.
One thing I want to say before I ask that question, just because you had a positive neural trigger at me, what you both spoke about, what you all spoke about, but it was something that was just said. Momentum.
Wait. Yeah. I love how geeky we are. Hold on, wait a minute. I had a
positive You're gonna make him lose his thought.
That's all your fault. You taught me all that neurosynaptic stuff. It's your fault. But oh my gosh, I think I kind of
Hold on, I'm having
I got to get it back. Oh yeah. So momentum, in all seriousness, momentum begins in a moment, right? Hence the word momentum. Moment is the root word, right? Momentum begins in a moment. And I'm very excited. And I wasn't going to talk so much because we have a lot of great people on here today, but I do want to share, since it was brought up, this event, January 14th and 15th. It is very specific and strategically on those days. And the reason why is because that's the weekend before Blue Monday. And Blue Monday, and I don't know, Jeremy, if we got a chance to talk about this, but Blue Monday is the day when 97% of people worldwide stop the resolution. Because I don't use the Q word that rhymes with grit, like the antonym of grit, the opposite of grit, but they stop the resolution that day. And typically in America, I don't know what the stat, I don't know what the stat is worldwide, but I know in America, number one is to always get more money, number two is to lose weight. And so by that third Monday, they just got their first credit card bill in from Christmas. And the average American's in debt until July from Christmas. That's a totally another story for another day. It's crazy. And so they've actually now have all this debt that they have to pay. So that goes out the window, right? And number two is to lose weight. And so most people, if they actually did go to the gym, right, muscle weighs more than fat, they step on the scale for the first time, thinking they're going to have progress, and they saw the scale increase. And they're like, I'm going to the gym, I'm doing this, done with this, right? And they literally stop, 97% of the world. Well, we have this event that's going to be literally like a playground of thought leaders in their space. If you've ever wanted to write a book, you need to come see Gary and Rick and 17 other well-known best-selling authors, publishers, editors, right? Access to these people that most people cannot get to. If you've ever wanted to turn anything into a movie, we have people in the Hollywood world going to be there, an award-winning Hollywood producer and director, and other people in that space, right? Other producers as well. We have people that are thought leaders in the respective space of copy and marketing. Very exciting. And so with that being said, my invitation is, because we're having it strategically the day before Blue Monday, when 97% of the world stop the next day, not Monday, we want our people to start and keep rolling forward. And with that being said, we want people to live this life, this life of, the name of the company is called True Living, right? And Mike is the pioneer of this company. I joke, I call him the tribal leader. We call it the True Living Tribe. He doesn't like that term. But in all seriousness, it's like, it's about living true. And so to piggyback into this question that we always end with, we have great guests, Jaron, and I cannot wait to hear your answer. I know it's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
in your words, what does living true, resonate to you? What does living true mean to you?
What does it mean to live true? Yeah.
What does it mean to live true? Thank you.
For me, it ties into another phrase that uses the word true, and that is true potential. And if you are not pursuing your true potential, if you are living below your true potential, you know it. You understand that. I believe that a lot of addiction and a lot of the problems that we see in people, because we just look at that and we say, oh, there's a problem. Addiction specifically, because of some people in my life that I know, and I look at them and I've thought, it's because you're not living up to your true potential. And you know that inside. Your spirit, your soul knows that there's a void there that you're not fulfilling, and you're trying to numb that pain, or you're trying to fill that void. You're trying to distract yourself from it. And anytime we're not diligently, deliberately working toward our full potential, our true potential, there is a void there, and you're not being true to yourself, and you can't be living true or truly living if you're not at least trying to identify what your true potential is and work towards it. And you may never figure that out in this life, but if you're trying, if you're giving it an honest effort to really discover your true potential and achieve it, you will feel fulfilled, you will feel happy, you will have a life of purpose and meaning, and you will be content, satisfied, and joyful.
Love that.
Beautiful.
That's great.
Yes.
Great. Love that, man. You remind me what Tony Robbins always says, right? One word. Happiness equals one word. And it's progress. Progress.
Yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Nice. Love that.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Felicia was
Yeah.
talking earlier about the comfort zone, and I always say comfort robs progress.
Yes.
If you're comfortable, you're not progressing.
That's right.
So true.
That's right. It's leaning into that unknown edge, right? Lean into that unknown edge.
Jump out.
Put a rock in your
Yeah.
shoe and go for a hike, people.
Yeah, somebody
It'll make a difference.
somebody once said it's lonely on the cutting edge of creation.
Wow.
You know,
I love
it's
that.
lonely on the cutting edge of creation. I just never
I think
forgot that.
Jerem knows that. He was
Yeah.
alone in his home
Right.
market for years.
All right, Jerem, how can people get in touch with you?
Yes.
That's a good question. I was going to throw something together before I got on here today, and I didn't get it done. I've been,
Well,
We
been
can
running-
always
That's
add
okay.
it to
Get in touch with
our
us,
feed.
and we'll get in
Yeah.
touch with Jerem.
And we
He's
can
in the
put it
tribe.
into-
Oh, you know what? Go in the
in our chat.
Facebook group where you can find Jerem's video that he hasn't shot yet and is just hearing about now, introducing himself so you guys can directly connect with him.
There you go.
Go to it. It's the True Living Network on Facebook. It was the True Living Tribe. Now it's the True Living Network. Okay, so guys, thank you, Jeremy. You blessed me so much. I am so motivated and inspired to go out there and make things happen. What do you guys say, team? You down?
Yes, that was
Down.
awesome.
Mike,
you.
Felicia, you got to invite him Wednesday. Mastermind.
Yes. We have a mastermind. Yes. And if you guys haven't showed up yet, you got to check out our mastermind. It's Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard. We're going to be authentically networking and connecting, and you'll be around amazing people like yours truly, Jerem. All right. So I'm super excited. Any last closing thoughts that you guys want to leave before we close out?
We just gotta live true.
Ready?
And if we are present to this moment, we know a little bit more about what we can do.
Yeah.
About
And-
getting
and-
out of that comfort zone and taking risk.
Amen. Amen. And Jerem, we would love to have you on Wednesday. Our buddy, our mutual friend, Dr. Russ Court's going to be there too. He's phenomenal, as you know. So people from around the world call in, and people get to know who you are and what you do and who you serve. It's a beautiful place. So
On Zoom.
welcome to
Yeah.
come.
Yeah.
Yeah, on Zoom. Thank you. Wednesday at 7:30.
All right.
Great.
All right. So
Thank
we're
you.
going to cheer out.
My
here,
final note would be that everyone out there has a story.
Yeah.
All right.
I love that.
True.
Sorry, what was that? Do you want me to?
Everyone has a
Go
story.
ahead. You're
Yeah.
going somewhere with that.
My final note, sometimes people hear this and they hear me and they're like, well, I haven't climbed a huge mountain and I haven't had cancer and I haven't done all this, and they think they don't have a story. And that's not true. All of us are created equal in the sight of God. And that means that every one of us is a genius. Every one of us is an idiot. we just have different strengths and weaknesses, and you have a story that is just as inspiring as anyone else's. And so when you talk about coming to this event to consider writing a book, everybody has a book-worthy story out there. So hope to see people there and meet the people that have been on this.
That is powerful. Jerem,
Love that.
I'm
Thank you,
so
brother.
glad you said that. You don't even know how empowering that is, because there's a lot of people that would be thinking like, wow, my life just doesn't seem to
I'm not a
compare,
thought
and you don't have to
leader. I'm not a
compare,
leader. Right.
and you're saying no, and it's so true. Like, your story will resonate with someone, and you have permission to do that and share
Absolutely.
that, and then
Yep.
it's equally important. So the validation is remarkable. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
All right, we're gonna
so-
cheer out. Cover the
This is
camera.
what we do. We cover the camera with our hand.
And then on 3, we pull back and say, "Live true." Are you ready?
Yes.
1, 2, 3. Live
Live
true.
Tony's delayed.
All right, guys. Have a great night. We'll see you soon. Bye for now.